Hey everyone, it's Michael, GoosebumpsFan. I hope you're doing well today. First off, I want to wish a happy birthday to my beautiful wife. I hope you're having a wonderful day, honey, if you happen to watch this video. Anyway, so I have a couple of Goosebumps book reviews for you today. My wife and I just kind of sat in today. She didn't really want to do anything for her birthday, which was wild to me. I'm one of those guys that like to go out to eat and like to go hang out with some family and that kind of thing, so we're going to see some of her family later on for like a small cookout type of thing. Anyway, I read two GYG books between sort of kind of yesterday and today. I finished one today and then I finished the other just a little bit ago. Anyway, this is number 4 of the Give Yourself Goosebumps series. This is a book I really didn't want to read that much either. The Deadly Experiments of Dr. Eeek. Now, the GYG books, Give Yourself Goosebumps books, again, I like to restate this every time I make a new video for these in case this happens to be somebody's ever first time hearing about these. I grew up in the 90s, was a Goosebumps fan, and never heard about these books until a few years ago when I started collecting these books and reviewing them and reading them and whatever. These are basically choose-your-own-adventure books. If you know what that is, basically you read through the book, you get a couple of different paths you can take. There's about 20 different endings throughout this book. It's not a read from page 1 to page whatever. You know, you don't just go straight through the entire book. You have to use a bunch of bookmarks and that kind of thing, and you just kind of make choices throughout the book that take you to different pages located all over the book. And it's a really fun time. I always recommend these. I really like them. But I will tell you, The Deadly Experiments of Dr. Eeek has a really bland cover. Now, the holographic part's kind of cool. I like that. Very pretty. The cover itself's kind of bland, though. However, this is the thing. I'm kind of not a fan of this book. I'll be honest with you. I mean, the more I read this one, the more I was like, wow, this is a really bland one. It's kind of like the sequel to the Carnival of Horrors or whatever the first book of this was, of the GYG books. Book number 1 of that was fantastic. There is a sequel called like Return of the Carnival of Horrors or Return to the Carnival of Horrors, whatever it was called. And that one was really bland. Every reference to Goosebumps books were pretty much taken out of it, whereas the original book, the first book of the series, had mentions of Slappy. I think Slappy had an appearance there. Monster Blood was referenced. All kinds of really cool stuff like that. And you get some really good ones. I think most of the GYG books, from what I have read, I think I've read about half of them, they're really solid. I really like them. I think they're really fun to read. I kind of want to end the channel on reading just those once I get around to them, and to the end of the channel. You know, I don't know when that'll be, probably next year, the year after, somewhere in there, I don't know. Depending on how fast things move in my life and what work and everything looks like outside of my YouTube stuff. This one is really not that great, I'll be honest with you. It's probably one of the weakest GYG books I've read, which really kind of disappointed me. It's about 130 pages. You can read it in a couple hours. Not too bad at all. This one had a cool premise. I was hoping we could do more with it, and it just kind of fell apart over time. It's one of those books, too, where the cover barely has anything to do with the book at all. This is just like a small side shoot ending in the book, not really anything important. Essentially, your mother is a famous scientist, and she's recently been spending a lot of time at the new job working for Dr. Eeek and Eeek Corporations, and it's been kind of sad not having her at home very much. It seems like she's like a single mom, I don't know. But you miss her a lot, and you and your best friend get invited to go to a movie and to dinner with her that night, and you decide to go into the waiting room and sit around and wait in this office. And some interesting things happen. You happen to meet a guy named Dr. Eeek that kind of owns and runs this whole business. And he is an oddball. He puts you through some experiments, one in particular called the Raster experiment. Now this is the thing, I don't really want to tell you too much because these books don't have, they kind of have different formats of how things go. For example, typically you'll read up to the first choice and then you'll have path A and path B, and they kind of branch off into a bunch of different endings based on those two paths. That's not what really happens here. Most of this book is just focused on the Dr. Eeek storyline and the experiments going wrong and whatnot. And that's pretty much the fun of the story. Now, the experiments themselves, they're alright. I would say the endings, for the most part, are really bland. I'm not very impressed with what this book ended up being by the end of it. It just really let me down. And that kind of happened with the next book I'm going to review immediately after this video, so hopefully you'll check that out as well. I don't want to tell you right now what the review is, but you'll see if you happen to be watching these in order, or looking at them today on April 20th. It's already hard to believe we're almost in May of 2022. How weird is that? Anyway, so the experiments are just kind of bland, not really the best ideas. I thought one was kind of cool. It was like a maze, and you had dogs out there. It smelled like dog, but you couldn't really figure out where the dogs were. You'd hear them barking and howling and whatnot coming after you and your best friend. I think his name was Sam. I don't know. That was kind of fun and a little bit engaging. There's a couple of scenes that are kind of horrific. But I'll be honest with you, man, most of this book just didn't click with me. It didn't have that really creative nature to it. And I don't know if I'm the only person who feels like that. This is one of the earlier GYG books. I'm certain that there are books that have had other people writing these alongside R.L. Stine. I'd be willing to bet on that. This feels like it would be that. Stine is a very creative writer from what I have seen from Goosebumps over the 3 years or 4 years or whatever it's been I've been reading these. 3 years with the channel, 4 years really buying and collecting and reading. He's a very creative writer, and I really like what he can do with stories. This one just doesn't work for me. I don't know what it is about it. It doesn't really hit that really solid note that you really love about this. It's not very impressive at all. It's just kind of a letdown. I'll be honest with you. I'm not really thrilled about talking about this. I finished it, like I said today, like this morning, and I was just like, I really don't want to make a video on this one. It's one of the very few I've ever felt that way about. I've had many that I wanted to make the rant video I made for them, but, you know, typically that can be fun, just tearing into a book that was bad. This is just like, what do you even do with this kind of book? It's just not that great. It's like the most bland movie you'd buy at Walmart that just came out but happened to be $5 instead of 25. You know, it just came out this week or whatever. It's that kind of just bland piece of garbage, you know? I wanted more creativity. Like I said, that's my biggest issue with this that I've rambled about throughout the review. And that's all I have to say about it. It feels like that creative force really that drives Goosebumps. It makes it fun, either more in a comedic aspect or a more scary aspect. It's not here. It's not. There's a couple of moments that kind of come close in either direction, but most of it's just not that great. Dr. Eeek isn't one of the best Goosebumps villains. It is what it is, you know? So anyway, when it comes to the deadly experiments of Dr. Eeek, Goosebumps, or give yourself Goosebumps, number 4, if I had to rate this one on a 5-star basis, I'd give it like a 2 out of 5 stars. A couple of things I liked, but not much at all in this. 2 out of 5 stars for me. Not very impressive, not super thrilling or anything like that. Not even really tense or wild or adventurous. You're pretty much just inside of a building with some experiments happening. And that can be nice, but not so much with this one. It's kind of a letdown. We've had a lot of mad scientist stories in Goosebumps like I've recently talked about. This is not one of the better ones. This might be the weakest one I've ever read, possibly. Whenever I eventually, God willing, one day, do a review or ranking more of the entire Goosebumps franchise, all the books and everything, which is what my goal is at the end of the channel at some point, whenever I do that, my plan is that more than likely this will probably be very close to the bottom, probably in the bottom 10, because this is a really surprisingly boring one. Not a bad one, just really bland. This is very childish, you know? I'm a grown man reading a children's book series that I love tremendously from my childhood, but still, this is more childish than I am. Anyway, 2 out of 5 stars for me. Not impressive. Don't like it that much. What did you guys think about the deadly experiments of Dr. Eeek? Did you love this one? Did you hate it? Put your thoughts and comments down below. I would love to hear what you guys have to say about this one. Thank you for watching. God bless you guys. Goodbye.